and welcome to KJ's Kitchen. I'm KJ. I'm a 13-year master fitness trainer, a fitness nutrition specialist, and most importantly, a healthy and happy mom sharing my healthy and happy recipes from my kitchen to yours every Wednesday at 12 o'clock here live on Facebook. So, I did make the announcement that today's recipe is all about bread. Who doesn't love bread, right? So aside from gluten, I'll give you a little insight here. Aside for gluten, why don't we really want to consume too much bread? The gluten will cut through our gut eventually. If you don't have IBS now, the more and more gluten you eat, the sooner you'll get that later in life. So it's not about how you're feeling today, it's about prevention. So we don't go super gluten in this house, but if we're going bread, we're going all the way, and we're gonna make it delicious, and we're going to make it easy. That's the name of the game. I'm a busy mom. Any moms out there know you don't have time to let this dough rise for, who knows, an hour and then flip it, maybe an hour more. That's time consuming. Not everyone's gonna run out and get a bread maker, because if you're like our family and you're not consuming bread daily, why would you need a bread maker? So this is low investment, definitely easiest bread you will ever make. And today I'm going to be using real flour. If you are gluten-free and you want to create this, you also can be grabbing the all-purpose gluten-free flours, or if you make your own all-purpose, that's cool too. It might change the texture. So let me just let you in on my secret to make this the fastest bread you've ever made. It's beer. Oh yes, beer bread. Now if you are like, eek, we don't do beer in this house, or whoa, I don't want beer in anything I give to my kids. First and foremost, the alcohol will bake off, but if you want to go non-alcoholic beer, go for it. If you're gluten-free and you want to go gluten-free beer, go for it. They might even have the alcohol-free, the non-alcoholic versions of gluten-free beer too. So this was not on purpose, but my husband and I, we buy the cheapest beer ever, because you could go in for rich beer, you get a richer flavor in the bread, but we talk about affordability, and I keep a big box just in the closet, the pantry. I don't keep it cold, of just cheap beer. Last time my husband went and got some, he actually didn't mean to, but he got the non-alcoholic version. So we've been making, we get a 12-pack, and we've been making this often. So the non-alcoholic works. Okay, so let's get started. We're gonna start with flour. I personally, when I'm making like white breads or things that call for flour, it is a whole wheat flour, and it's called whole wheat white. So you can see it's not super brown. It's going to behave more like a white flour, and we're gonna do 3 cups. Very easy peasy, let's get going. When you're dealing with flour, especially if you don't want this beer bread, oh, stop. Preheat your oven. Here we go. Let's get it up to 375. Boop. Get that preheating for you. All right. So if you know your flour's been sifted, or if you have an actual sifter, that's cool. To avoid making this bread like a brick, really heavy and dense, I use a little spoon. It's a tablespoon, soup spoon, whatever. And I actually, if you can see this, I dust it, I kind of like drop it in all loosely into the cup. So we're not scooping and pressing this flour in a hard, tight measurement. There's 1, I'm going for 3. Just make this loose. I like loose flour going in. This is important. A lot of times when you're baking, you probably learn to, pack it down, cut it with a knife, get all the air out. We like this airy for this particular recipe. If you don't have a sifter, the spoon is gonna work just fine. And I am done with 3 cups. There we go. We got it. Now, what I love, I'm doing all the dry ingredients first, 3 cups flour. And now it's not too much sugar going in, 1/4 cup. Again, we use like raw looking sugar, it's slightly brown. You're brown looking, right? We do organic. A teaspoon of salt. Don't forget the salt, it's delicious. We do pink Himalayan salt, we got that. And now we're matching, this is the easiest recipe ever, I tell you. You match the cups with the teaspoons for your baking powder. Aluminum free, you can get that in any store. We love Trader Joe's. 3 teaspoons for your 3 cups of flour of the baking powder. 1, 2, 3, boom. So this is not self-rising flour. So you know that, it's regular. If you have self-rising flour, you're not gonna be using this stuff. Here we go. I like to mix up my dry ingredients first, just like that. This is so easy, guys. That's it. I mean, I'm talking 5-minute prep. You're gonna have yourself bread in the oven in no time. There we go, that's mixed. Time for the good stuff. This one's warm, from the pantry, non-alcoholic Busch. I don't even know what it tastes like, because I don't care. I need it because it activates the bread. You don't need to let it sit and rise. All the yeast and carbonation from the actual beer is going to do all the work for us even while it's in the oven. Is that so cool or what? I don't know, we're not a super beer drinker, even though I live in Asheville. It's like beer capital. So you could choose, if you want to play around with the types of beers you use, the more hoppy or malty flavor will change the flavor of the bread. Like I tell you, we just use, I think this is Pilsner, I don't know, like very pale, cheap beer. The American domestic are the cheap ones. We just only use it for our beer bread mostly. We don't drink domestic beer, we drink local beer, the good stuff. Asheville, go. Woo! Okay, so I'm stirring it up. There we go. I'm actually gonna switch to a spatula to make it less sticky on the bowl. Okay. That was it, easy ingredients, right guys? So all you wanna do, you don't wanna over mix this, you wanna get the ingredients wet. So when you are kneading the bread, if you want to say it that way, you are going to just make sure there's no globs of flour. Don't over mix. Again, that will just overwork the bread. You'll end up with a harder, clumpy brick of a bread. Brick of bread. How's that? Okay, so here's the good stuff. We did not add any oil into this. Our preference in my family, you could choose to add the butter into the bread. My family, we choose to top the bread with the butter. And that's gonna leave an amazing, crusty outer edge of the bread. Nice, delicious, buttery crust. So that's it, it's mixed. I'm just looking here, I kind of spread it out, I cut it in half, make sure there's no dry flour anywhere. Now, even though you don't need to let it sit and rise at all, I like to prep that dough before I oil the pan. I'm gonna be using an 8x4. This is kind of small, guys, so this is not a standard bread pan. If you do have standard bread pan, oh well, you'll end up with like shorter rectangle bread, and that's fine, because who's gonna judge the shape of a sandwich or a piece of bread you're gonna butter and enjoy? So this is a smaller version of a regular bread pan. I'm gonna use butter to coat it. We do the Kerrygold, talking grass-fed, right? Now, my mom taught me this, for all of you environmentalists, myself included. It's painful, but it's an easy, clean way of doing it. Wrap your hand in a baggie, right? Grab some room temperature butter, just like I have here, and go to work into your pan. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm going to multitask. I've got 1/4 of a cup of butter here. 1/4 cup, I'm melting it in the micro, I'd say 30 seconds. Get everything buttery going. Get your pan buttered, get your butter on, the better butter. Here we go, the better butter is the grass-fed butter. Not organic, but grass-fed. There is a big difference, and you do want to try to find grass-fed as much as possible. Look at that. Clean, no mess, woohoo! Buttered pan. So while my butter is melting up in there, I'm gonna get this daddy into the pan. And it's so pretty. Oh, I love it. Micro is done. Click that so it doesn't beep at us again. So once you get it in the pan, it's a bit of a blob. I like to just work it into the corners, just gently pressing, again, trying not to overwork the dough. I like it a little rounded so that it does lift in the center and make a really pretty loaf, right? So if you're using a pan the size I am here, I want to warn you, the butter and everything you're gonna pour over this will start bubbling in the oven. I don't want you to create a grease fire in your home. I don't like if I forget and create some smoke in my house either. So I use a good old cookie sheet and place it in the oven on the lower rack to catch any drippings. That way it's not hitting the hot, hot heat of the bottom of the oven. Here I go, I got my melted butter, 1/4 cup. Hey, I did good at eyeballing that. That's exactly a 1/4 cup. All right, and all I'm gonna do, and this is where it gets so delicious, is pour it. Now you, if you're really a non-buttery family, could maybe go even a little less butter. That's up to you. We don't mind, cause you can just go ahead and toast this, enjoy it, and you don't even need to add the butter because the butter's on it. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven. Incredible, guys, I will tell you what. Popping it in my preheated oven, 375. Got that going in. You can easily double or triple this recipe. I tell you, this beer bread is a hit. I chose to make this today because I'm making some homemade grass-fed beef stew in the crock pot. I put it in at 9 a.m. It's gonna be melt in your mouth delicious by dinner time. And what better to go with stew than bread? If it's not my cornbread or my mom's recipe Johnny cake, then it's definitely beer bread. Set your timer for an hour. Bread's ready and done, that's it. At an hour, pull it out. I'm gonna show you how amazing the bread looks when you're done because I made a loaf this morning. So I could show you. So once you get it out of the oven, you're gonna wanna put it on a rack in the pan, on like a cooling rack. Let it sit 10, 15 minutes and then boop, flip it over and then let it continue cooling out of the pan. If you forget about this, you might end up with like more dense bread, wet bread, and that's not as enjoyable. I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this and show you how awesome it is. And make your mouth water. Here we go. You can hear the crunch, right? Crunchy, delicious bread. Here we go. Look how beautiful. It's airy. You can see the air pockets. I didn't overdo that dough. And crunch and delicious. So, hopefully, this got your mouth watering. Pardon me. Share this with anyone you know who loves bread. Even if they're not a beer drinker, they can go for some beer bread. And please, if you're making this in a different way, creating it gluten-free, if you're using a different type of beer, share. I love to hear what you're doing with these recipes. Remember moderation. My family, we don't eat bread every day, but when we do it right. We do it easy, we do it clean, no preservatives. I promise it's delicious. The whole family's gonna love it. Share this video with anyone you know who could appreciate it. Follow me if you're not already, and I'll see you next week, next Wednesday, 12 o'clock in KJ's Kitchen. Have a fantastic Wellness Wednesday, guys, and pardon me talking with my mouth full. Take care.